Hi everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I will be reading a Katsuki listener by me. So let's get into it. The room was pitch black, the heavy curtains drawn tightly shut to block out the city lights. It was quiet, the faint hum of the air conditioning the only sound. You lay in bed, tangled in the warmth of the sheets. Katsuki's arm draped lazily over your waist. His warmth grounded you, and even in your sleep, you leaned into it. But then, your dreams started to shift, turning from soft, hazy images into something much darker. You couldn't exactly place where you were, but the feeling of being trapped, being chased, overwhelmed your senses. The darkness pressed in on you from every side, and no matter how hard you tried to scream, no sound escaped your lips. You ran, your heart pounding in your chest. But the faster you went, the closer the danger seemed. And then something caught you, and you screamed. The sound tore from your throat, startling you awake. Your heart was racing, your breath coming in ragged gasps as your body trembled with leftover fear. The room felt too dark, too suffocating, and for a moment you couldn't tell if you were still dreaming. Hey, Oyan, wake up. The voice was sharp, familiar, pulling you out of the spiral that you were in. Katsuki's arm, which had been loose around your waist, tightened as he jolted awake from your scream, and he immediately sat up, his hand finding your shoulder. And as he looked at you, he was thinking of ways to ground you. But at first, he tried to get your attention. Babe, what's going on? What happened? His voice was rough with sleep, but there was an edge of concern in it that cut through his usual gruff tone. You couldn't really speak, tears filling your eyes as you struggled to catch your breath. The pure terror of the nightmare still clawing at your chest, and you shook your head, your hands clutching the blanket, as if that would protect you from whatever you saw in your dream. His eyes widened in the darkness, and he was fully awake now, his other hand gently cupping the side of your face. Hey, look at me. His voice softened, just enough to break through the fog of fear. It's just a nightmare. You're safe. He nodded, but your body did not stop trembling as much as you wanted to. The fear still gripped you, irrational and relentless. You hadn't had a nightmare this bad in a long time, and now that it had come, it left you feeling raw, vulnerable. Katsuki shifted closer, pulling you against him without another word. His chest was warm and solid, and his heartbeat slow and steady, and it pulsed against your ear. The scent of his skin, familiar and comforting, started to bring you back to the present. I've got you. Nothing's gonna hurt you now, he murmured, his lips brushing the top of your head, his arms wrapping around you tightly, as if his embrace alone could shield you from whatever haunted your dreams. You buried your face into his chest, tears spilling over. It felt so real. You whispered, your voice muffled against him. I couldn't get away. Katsuki was quiet for a moment, his grip on you never faltering. I'm right here, he finally said, his voice low but firm. Ain't no one gonna touch you now. Not as long as I'm around. And you sniffled, Your tears starting to slow as his words sank in. He was not always the best with comfort, but in moments like these, his presence alone was enough. And the steady rise and fall of his chest beneath you helped calm down your erratic breathing. You're safe. You hear me? He repeated, his fingers running gently through your hair. And you nodded against him, finally starting to relax. Yeah, he whispered. I hear you. For a few more moments, he held you in silence, his touch reassuring and solid. The nightmare still lingered in the back of your mind. But with Katsuki here, it did not seem quite so overwhelming. And after a while, he pulled back just enough to look at you, his crimson eyes scanning your face in the dim light. His thumb brushed away the tear stains on your cheeks, his expression soft in a way only you ever saw. Better? He asked, his voice quiet, and he nodded, managing a small, shaky smile. Yeah, thanks. You don't need to thank me for that. What kind of boyfriend would I be if I didn't take care of you? He scoffed, but there was no real bite to it, and you couldn't help but smile a little bit more, the warmth of his words seeping into your heart. He might act tough, but he knew he cared, more deeply than he ever let on. Katsuki sighed, his shoulders relaxing as he shifted back down onto the bed, tugging you along with him. You want to talk about it? He asked, his tone casual, but offering you the space if you needed it. And you shook your head, lying back against him. Not really. I just want to stay like this for a while. His arms tightened around you then, and he pressed a soft kiss to her temple. Fine by me. You're not going anywhere. And in his arms, you knew you were safe, and no nightmare could ever reach you here.